If you feel like we live in a simulation or that life might not be real, you might be experiencing what a lot of people call derealization, but I don't think it's that at all. I think it's just ultra realization and awareness. So we're going to talk about the different levels of thinking, or at least my interpretation of it and my experience through it. And hopefully this will bring you some level of peace, maybe anxiety, but definitely awareness. So what's going on, you guys? My name is Kate Rose. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are sitting inside of my broken down Mach 1 Mustang. We're just going to kind of clean out the interior and talk about the different levels of thinking or awareness or just overall human consciousness. So there are 9 different levels of thinking. We're going to kind of start at the bottom and work our way up. So I think this is a very important topic to think about because, as you know, your thoughts are your reality, and the way you view reality is influenced by your mind, your brain, your culture, and your society, and that is impacting how you view and interact with reality every single second, all the time, and all at once. And the way you develop your ways of thinking, it changes over time. So if you think of it as like a graph, some people will just like go up and then level out. Others continue to grow throughout their life as they experience more life and reality. I think more people are kind of embracing this way of thinking, which is why I want to make this video, because I have been on that same journey. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today, as well as clean out all of the trash in my car. So the first level is just kind of like reflexive, and it's just the basic simple principles that you're born with. So you're hungry, or you need to go to the bathroom, just super simple things like that. Oh my gosh, my first YouTube cards. Level 2 is impulsiveness, and this is where you get like your desire to connect with others. So it's where you realize that other people also have the same basic needs that you have, and just the desire to connect with others. Another phone charger, some sunglasses. Level 3 can be called the opportunist, or control and self-protecting. This is where you become aware that you live in a world with other people, and those other people have their own agenda, living their lives with their own need to protect themselves. So basically levels 1 through 3 are all pretty simple levels of thinking. You achieve these levels by teenage years, early adulthood. You live in a world, you have needs and desires, other people have needs and desires, and everybody's just kind of out on their own to make the best of their own lives for their own satisfaction. Oh, this key was stuck in my tire and gave me a flat, my first flat in Mach ever, but I kept it. It's gonna get thrown away now. Oh, my jacket. More trash. This little cup, this says Bad Witch. I thought I lost this. Level 4 is where we start to become more self-aware. So this is where more of like society norms kind of influence more of your perception than just your immediate personal needs. This is kind of where you start to learn the difference between what's right and wrong, bad or good, and what needs to be done for the common good of others and the society that you live in. This is kind of where I started to understand, like, you don't judge another person until you walk a mile in their shoes, or whatever Slim Shady says, which I think I heard it probably when I first heard that song when I was riding the bus to school with my little MP3 player. Still a pretty simple level, but kind of just where you're wanting to kind of fit in. And a lot of people actually do stay at this level because humans are sheep. If you're in the corral, you stay in the corral, you eat, you shit, and that's it. So kind of where this level is at. Another phone mount, which I probably need. Or no, I think this one sucks. These ones just suck so bad. I have so many. I think that's a Lego popper tool. Level 5, I guess, is technically called like an achievement level. And this is where you're still with level 4, but you're starting to realize that other people are probably also at a level 4. It's kind of where you start to realize that there are also things that are considered good and bad for other people with other perspectives or other points of view. This is kind of like where you start looking at things as if you're an alien. So if you've ever just kind of thought, like, what do people that maybe are not a part of this world think of the things that you're doing, the things that others are doing, where you introduce things more scientifically to look at to see like what works. So where you have reason, or you're factoring in history and what has worked, what hasn't worked, what's best, what's not best for you, as well as others. So the next level is level 6. And I think this is where a lot of people think hippies kind of are at, just where there's like radical inclusiveness, no right and wrong, and how can you look at this type of person or these group of people for doing certain actions because this is what they know, this is what their society, their culture, their parents and everything has taught them, so how can they know if it's wrong if this is what they thought is better? This is where you're aware that there are multiple valid perspectives, and who are you to judge? You kind of know that we all are valid and what we think is true, what we think is right and wrong. If I choose not to worship the devil, who am I to say that people, okay, no, that's a bad one. Or living in a van. Like, just because certain people choose to live in a van doesn't mean that that lifestyle impacts my lifestyle in any way. This is just where it's kind of accepting other people to do as they please, and it doesn't really impact my life. I think I have spent probably majority of my life thinking at this level and approaching different problems at this level, and it wasn't until recently that I was able to surpass this level. And I also think this is kind of when things get to be a little bit crazy, because at the level 7 is where you begin to think at every level previously. Level 7 is where you start to harmonize reality. This is where you start to perceive reality in a tier 2 level of consciousness, where you can understand and include all of the previous levels of awareness and thinking. It's where you take that radical level of inclusiveness and then see that certain people should be placed in different groups that make the most sense. So it's kind of where you understand that you can manipulate reality. So I guess this is basically where time really comes into place, that factors the way that you look at reality, because things do change over time. People develop, you develop. We live in a world where things are constantly changing, and with that change, you need to change as well. And this is where I think I had the hardest time on making decisions and sticking with them. I just became so aware of my history with certain experiences. This is where I think I instead of just giving my immediate reaction, I take into consideration why I feel like I'm having a certain reaction. If I feel like maybe my partner isn't considering me in a situation, it's why does it hurt me so much that I don't feel considered immediately? Is it because of certain things that had happened to me in my childhood? Maybe it's ways that I had been mistreated by a previous partner. It's where you just start to realize that you have developed over time and you have created these initial reactions or these traumas that you might have had in your life, and it has developed over time. Okay, we're opening up the glove box because I started getting a little lost there on the different levels. I feel like for me, going through these different levels, it was kind of like I was stuck at level 5 and spent so much time there, but then as soon as I surpassed that main level, then it was just kind of like very rapidly went through the next levels. And if you've been through that same journey, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Going through my dash and just the different receipts. I have an old In-N-Out receipt. Makes me hungry. If you're curious what my In-N-Out order is, it's a number 1, the double, no onions, with an animal fry without the grilled onions, and then a medium Dr. Pepper, which now I'm a Diet Coke girl, but that's my In-N-Out order. I have some wet ones, which I use for my new aftermarket steering wheel because I don't want to have greasy hands on the Alcantara. A wrench, my registration, and documents on the car. Nothing too interesting in there. My car actually isn't too dirty. I'm always going to keep napkins in here because you never know. I don't think I need any of those old receipts. Okay. Back to the driver's side. Okay, level 8 is where I think things started to get really weird and overwhelming for me. I became too aware. I think I just started to lose enjoyment in a lot of things, where it was just really hard to live in the moment because I just feel too aware of what is happening. While it's probably beneficial to be in this level of thinking, it's I think, hard to get out of, and kind of like the main reason why I wanted to make this video, because I think once I had finally got through this like understanding of what was going on in my head, it brought me a lot of peace, which I guess going through these levels, just because you reached a certain level of thinking or awareness, it doesn't necessarily mean that what you're thinking is better because it's just being very aware. Okay, so level 8, I guess, is kind of where you become more of like a magician, is what I've read. You're watching yourself change over time. You're watching yourself interact with reality. You're watching your mind develop as you go and just construct and build in the society and the culture that you live in. This is where you're really just like thinking about thinking. This is where you really just take on that responsibility of your awareness. So you understand that you are growing and changing over time, and you know that as you grow and take that responsibility, there is a reason for it. And for me, that was very overwhelming. Like, I'm hyper aware of every single thing happening. My body is growing, my body is changing, my nails are growing, my hair is growing, and how my conversations are, they're developing more as I grow. I've always been a listener, but why have I always been a listener? Why do people feel so comfortable talking to me? What have I gone through in my life that has just made me such a good person to talk to? Every single interaction that I have ever had has led me to being this person that I am today. And then it's not only that, it's every single person that I come into contact with. My big point was when sitting at the airport or on an airplane, like, every single person here is their own main character, and some of them might not even be aware that they're their own main character. Some people might be aware that they're not even their own main character, that they're just watching their own show. Like, everybody has their own movie, their own series, their own narrative happening all at the same time, and I'm just a small part into their story. We're all just different shows, like, clashing into each other, and there are maybe little episodes where I'm just a featured character, and then that's it. Like, that's the end of that show. And okay. And then I think that's just where we get into what we know, which I guess is level 9, level of awareness. And I feel like there's probably more levels, but I think this is just the highest level, and it's, I don't like to spend much time on this level because it's like an overwhelming sense of awareness. I think I've always kind of felt this way, but I wasn't sure how to identify with it. And I think just having that understanding of this 6th level of perception does bring a lot of peace. And I just had like, what the hell is going on? But this is probably what's happening if you feel that same way, or derealization, if that makes sense. Because I think a lot of people do feel that, and this is what's happening. This is where you are seeing yourself watch yourself. This basically just creates the perception of potential selves in yourself. It's where there's not an is or an is not, or a will and a will not. Those don't exist. It's only what seems to be that you see at that current time. You remove yourself in your life. Like, you're not living your life. You're just seeing what you choose to see at that current time. So it's basically where you realize that what you see is what you shine a light on, because there's so much happening that you don't see. And it's all about like what you choose. This is where it gets kind of nerve-wracking with every decision that you make, every single word you say, every action you take. So if you're driving to work, in what way you choose to go and what you see along the way, every single small decision just leads to a different plot in your story or a different turn in your show. You're not necessarily the active player. You're just watching as things unfold, and it's where you just take such a big step back in your perception, and you almost feel like you don't know what's real, or maybe nothing's real. Everything does have an outcome or a response to things. You have a response to things, but are those things even real? But I guess that is the highest level of awareness that we know of right now. And I'm curious to know which levels you're at and how you've navigated the levels. But that's just a lot of what I've learned as far as the different levels of consciousness and awareness. And I really think that as you explore more of yourself and like doing that inner work, it does help you take more power and control of your life and your reactions and your thoughts, because as you know, and as I said earlier in this video, that your thoughts are what creates your reality, and your reality truly is what's going on in your mind and what you're thinking, how you're thinking, and how aware you are. So instead of just reacting to certain things, whether it's maybe on the road or people that you work with, or maybe your own family members, your kids and such, take a step back instead of just initially reacting and work through the reasons why you're reacting and maybe where it comes from in terms of your history, whether it's maybe childhood traumas or maybe it's the culture that you live in, where you grew up in, where you're living now, what kind of media you're watching, because every single thing that you interact with does take its mark on your life, and it influences how you respond to certain things. And it doesn't necessarily have to have like a positive or a negative one. It could have a completely neutral impact on you, but the way that you accept that energy, that thought, that feeling, it's either going to internalize and stay with you, or you can let it pass through you, because you're a portal. If you choose, no, we're not going to get into that one. Maybe in another video. I felt so strongly to talk about this topic because I've seen so many people talking about derealization and just not having the enjoyment out of life because life doesn't seem real. But I don't think it's derealization. I think it's actually realization. And I think it's so powerful that more people are becoming more aware of being more conscious of the world and how people grow and develop over time, especially themselves, because really, truly, you are just responsible for yourself. But I think interacting with the world and reacting to certain people and situations, it can help you overall navigate through your life and make you more powerful, because really you deserve to be. And I think just not being aware of certain things can hold you back from reaching your highest potential. And I truly feel like just kind of going through these different things, I know I'm a higher level of thinker, and I think I just felt so miserable at the lower levels, at like the 6 or a 5 for so long, because I just wasn't aware of being aware. Even though it was rough, like when you first start getting into just thinking about thinking, getting past that and accepting that you're being so aware and that you hold so much power, it's actually like a very freeing feeling. And that's why I'm really like excited to kind of like talk about it and share what I've learned, because being in it was very scary and very rough, and it was almost like I was hitting a depression. I just felt so stuck in my head and miserable, but I think getting past it, it's been good. I think this was like a good time to talk about it as I'm sitting in mock, which if you guys do follow my content, I am very passionate about my car and I love it. And having built race cars is a struggle, and I could have reacted to the situation. Basically, the supercharger broke and I spent a lot of money on this car and it's not running, and it's me just not reacting in a way that maybe my previous self would have reacted. Because I could have reacted to it in so many different ways. It could have been the whole pity party of I'm stranded, or oh, I make all of these wrong decisions, or oh, this is happening to me because of the evil eye, karma for something, or just like bad things happen to me. Like I know so many people, or I even spent so much time in like a victim state of mind, and that's just not the reality I choose to be in anymore. And you can make the exact same decisions for your reality as well. But basically, this is what I've been thinking about for around the last 6 months or so. I think a video that really just kind of like helped me find peace within it. He goes into much more deeper detail than what I could go through today, but I do want to get more into sharing my journey through health, because I've been putting in like a lot of work over the last couple of years, and I think everything is really paying off and it's a really good feeling, and I really want to share it with you guys, because I'm not going to go through all of this work and then just not share the benefits of it. So I think my car is now clean, so I'm getting out of here, but that was just my take on different levels of awareness, and now I hope you are ultra aware as well. But thank you so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you next time.